Peace, it's Brother Khalil Mazi coming from the American Struggle Radio Network. I'm with my brother Jerjuan Howard here. He just dropped a new book, A Message to the Black College Student. It comes out December 15th, 2020. I'll go ahead and let my brother introduce himself.
I appreciate that, bro. My name is Jerjuan Howard, a current black college student at Western Michigan University. I graduate in a week, December 19th. And 4 days before that, I released my first book, A Message to Black College Students.
What inspired you, brother, to kind of like write the book? And what was your main influence? I know you come from Detroit. What led you into going to college? And then once you're in college, I guess what inspired the book?
Okay, yeah. So pretty much in Detroit, I went to Renaissance High School, and it was in those years where I kind of got a whiff of the criminal justice system. And I was like, man, I want to be a lawyer. I want to try to help and change it, flip it around if I can. So I started to attend Western Michigan University. And it is at Western where my idea about change took a shift for the most part. I began to realize that all this stuff is holistic and everything affects everything. And the criminal justice is just a single part of it. I began to see certain habits and things like that black college students and black intellectuals who should be leading the fight for black progression. I seen some of our habits that hindered our progression as well as some of our habits that helped advance it. So I became the president of Black Student Union after Khalil, a big influence on me, and the meetings were just tailored towards overall black progression and the mindset shifts that need to take place, or the organization, the unity pieces and things like that need to take place. So I got invested really quick, and I began to study past leaders, and I more so began to realize, like, dang, the same thing they were talking about back then, at whatever time, whether you're talking about Marcus Garvey, W. Du Bois, Malcolm and Martin, whoever you want to name, however you want to name it, however long our history in America is going back, I began to realize the same things are going on today in 2020. And I started to think that the first change takes place in the mind, and thus I wrote this book to try to shift the mindsets of black college students to be on the front lines of the driving force of black progression.
Since 1619, there's been a war going on black bodies and black minds, and to this day, we're still struggling against those same colonial powers, same imperialistic powers that try to brainwash or influence the black perspective. And in your book, I just want to get right into it. You say there's a war on perception, a war on value systems, war on information, war on priorities, war on real history. And then you say, once the mind is conquered, the body follows. So can you kind of explain what this war is and what the purpose of having black people's mind conquered is really all about?
Yeah. So in order to make a people obedient, among these black people in particular, you have to take their mind first. Thus propaganda, thus perception, thus reality, thus real history. All these things have to become distorted in order to conquer the mind of the black man or woman. And so the war that I speak on is a war exactly on that. It's a war on the mind. Because thus once you take the mind, you take the body.
Right.
So the perceptions and things that we see are all part of the propaganda to take our mind away from real black progression, real black values, into something more individualistic, more geared towards greedy capitalism, more towards forgetting our true history and who we are and how we got up to this point.
I know when I came into school, I came from school from a relatively poor background. I came from, a street life and stuff like that. And I know a lot of our brothers and sisters migrate to college in order to change their material conditions, in order to, receive wealth and things like this.
Yep.
How does one kind of balance out having security, like in terms of going through school and after they graduate, getting security, but also not being a person that buys into the idea of the American dream
Yeah.
and these Eurocentric ideas that you talk about in your book.
Yeah. So, a person has to find their own balance. Everybody has a balance. Everybody's role isn't to be just the frontline person who just stands up first and does everything. Some people's role are to be the spook who sat by the door and things of that sort. So you have to find your balance, I would say. And more so, in between finding your balance, stay true to who you are. Don't compromise your personal values, morals, and principles to fit into any system.
Right.
So that would just be my biggest thing when you're trying to figure out your balance between financial security as well as staying true to who you are.
Going from there, it really brings me back to when when we talk about the American dream, staying true to who you are while trying to exist in this capitalist system that's constantly forcing us to, have to work, and not only have to work, but to want more.
Yeah.
You talk about, you gave a speech in 2020 to the Board of Trustees while you were serving your term as the Black Student Union president, and it was titled "The Illusion of Progress."
Yeah.
Can you kind of discuss what the illusion of progress is for a black college student, and how that translates once that black college student graduates?
Yeah, so the illusion of progress is just the idea that change is being made behind the scenes or behind closed doors. It's just an illusion of exactly that, progress. While the pieces and the faces may change, the system remains the same. So no matter, in the case of a black college student, right, when something happens on their campus, they usually organize quickly. They list their demands and things of that sort. In the university's response, they have a big PR scheme or big PR whatever. And I'll say, we're listening to the students. Their demands are being met. And on the outside looking in, from the outside looking in, you say, okay, they got it together. They make some progress. They really care about black people and inclusion, diversity, and all that type of stuff. But on the back end, nothing changes. The same situation happens a few years later. They continue to kick the rock further down the road. And this is just a microcosm of the overall society.
Right.
No matter how many black faces you have in positions of power, if they are not truly for changing the conditions of black people, it's an illusion that progress is being made. Who cares what the representation is if it doesn't benefit anybody? It doesn't matter how successful the black doctor is if nobody can afford his or her services.
Right. It's Imam Jamil Al-Amin used to say, you can have a natural on your head, but nothing on your mind.
Exactly.
And I think right now in this age where everyone's shooting for diversity, the people in power are willing to bring in black faces and put them in high places because they know that they don't have anything on their mind.
And that's the important piece. The mindset shift has to take place. Once the mind is conquered, it does not matter what the body follows after that. You can be black all day long on the outside, and if you are still following the same ideals and following the same set of principles that have hindered us for years, it does not matter. So that's why in this book, I really stress the idea of war on the mind in every sense of the word.
So just so we can help the people who are watching in terms of vernacular, and also in your book you use these terms, you talk about individualism and Eurocentricism.
Yeah.
Can you help define what individualism is and where it exists in the black psychology, and Eurocentricism and where it exists in the black psychology? And would you say that there's much of a difference between the black elites and the black people from the streets with these two ideas that you've coined?
Yeah, definitely. So individualism pretty much is just the idea of placing your own needs and desires above the needs and wants and desires of the collective or of the group. And that can include undercutting one another, doing anything for $1, poisoning each other, gatekeeping, things of that sort. And Eurocentrism just involves greed, capitalism, individualism, forgetting who you are and where you come from. Pretty much just white obedience overall. So in the sense, between a street person and an educated black person, there's not much of a difference in that sense because they both represent individualism. In that case, the black street person is just doing whatever they can for themselves to get by, whether that means
selling drugs to the community.
Yeah.
You know, because you're undermining your community in that way.
Yeah.
And then the black elites, they can undermine their community in some type of way as well, whether it's, endorsing certain people that really aren't for real radical change for the black people and stuff like that, right?
Yep. Definitely. So, and it must be established that there's a difference between black excellence and black elitism. Okay. There are two different set of ideals. Just because someone is black and held a position of power in politics does not make him or her honorable. Just because someone is a black entrepreneur that make a lot of money does not mean that they're honorable. One becomes honorable once they use whatever skill or whatever knowledge they have for the advancement of the people, and that is black excellence. When you use what you know and what you have for the advancement of the collective, that is black excellence. A position of power does not equate to black excellence, right? Or make somebody honorable.
So I know you were going to go to school to become a lawyer, right. And you may still be doing that. But can you talk about, what that, becoming a lawyer, what that really means for black people, if a black man or a black woman was to become a lawyer? Do you mind?
Yeah. So, like I said, initially I became a lawyer. Well, I wanted to become a lawyer. I wanted to help the conditions of black people. You know what I'm saying? I've seen all the exonerations taking place and all the wrongfully convicted and just harsh penalties and 3-strike laws and things like that happen as a result of the justice system. So I was like, dang, I wanted to hop in full-fledged. And I still may hop in full-fledged, but I don't know. But what that really meant for me to become a lawyer, you have to dance with the devil in a sense. You have to compromise yourself in some form or way to get to that position of being a full-blown lawyer. And I talk about in the book, Playing the Game to Change the Game, but it's tricky sometimes when you play the game to change the game. Because how much of yourself are you willing to compromise during the game, right? To get to that point?
And you kind of internalize some of it. Yeah. It's eventually the mask becomes sealed on your face, or sealed in your mind, and you can't differentiate when you're wearing the mask or when you're no longer wearing the mask. Yeah, I know. I'm an engineer, and I went into corporate America. I'm no longer in it, but I went into corporate America, and they were willing to give me a good amount of money for my talents. So my talents clearly are worth something because they're willing to pay. Yeah. And I realized me just having the money and being able to maybe donate to the mosque or donate to the church or donate to a need it did not outweigh my talents that I could be donating to my people. Yeah. Look, you talk about this whole corporate college to corporate pipeline. Yeah. I want you to kind of elaborate a little bit more about what you're talking about for this corporate to college to corporate pipeline.
Okay. Yeah. So just as there's a school to prison pipeline, there's a pipeline that funnels black college students to corporate America. And just as like I said, school can prepare a kid for prison, college prepares us for corporate America, because college does not produce change agents. It produces cogs in the wheel, more and more pieces to keep the wheel going, not pieces that will disrupt the wheel and divest from the wheel. So the talents that black college students have are not being directly used to benefit the black community. Okay. In a sense, our talents are being used for corporate America. So imagine being a black lawyer, right? You work for a corporate law firm who has the knowledge, the power, the influence to hold police accountable for police brutality, but they decide not to. Right. What say-so do you have in that instance? The answer is little to none. Right. Or imagine being a black engineer who works for a corporation that has the knowledge, the skills, the money to improve the infrastructure of our communities, but they decide not to.
Right.
As a black engineer in that system, what say so do you have?
I had none, brother. I just wanted you to know.
And the answer, yeah, exactly, like
I
little
had
to
none.
none. So the thing is that in these systems, you have little to no say so, and it's always important to have your own pie as opposed to having a small piece of someone else's, because with them, you're replaceable. You're replaceable. What? Using your talents with the black community, you're priceless.
Right.
So it's important that the black college students realize the power that they have as a professional and as a just overall intellectual and brilliant being, because corporations are willing to pay for that,
right?
As long as it's not directly benefiting us,
right? They want you to, for instance, they may want us to, you know what I mean, solve a math problem to figure out how to drop a bomb on Japan.
Yeah.
They'll use a black person for that, but they're not gonna let that person use their math skills to figure out how to develop a new economy that can empower them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, imagine being like a black accountant who works for a firm who has the knowledge to budget and improve communities, but they decide not to. If you own your own system, your own organizations, then you have the power to control your own narratives, your own perceptions, your own talents, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
So that's why it's so important that the black college students hop off this college to corporate America pipeline and begin to educate themselves on our own community issues and how they can use their talents and skills to advance our communities and solve these problems.
Right. Going with that, you are talking about using talents, using skills, and in your book, you say that the American dollar doesn't necessarily have to be the currency that is used to get black talent.
Yeah.
From black person to black person.
Yeah.
And so I'm taking it, you're talking about kind of like trade and bartering.
Yep.
Can we talk about a little what trade and bartering looks like while the black students go into college?
Yeah.
And then what trade and bartering looks like once they're out of college?
Yeah.
With these black talents that we possess?
Yeah. So I think it's important to address the American ideals versus our black ideals. The American ideals are the American dollar, the American dream, get it by any means. If they want to pay to play, you know what I'm saying, you got to pay somebody. If they want to, if you want what I know, you got to pay me for it.
Right. Versus
our black ideals, it takes a village to raise a child, leave no one behind. If you can help anybody, do it. Things that sort. So there's a direct contradiction between American ideals and black ideals, and the black college student must unapologetically decide which set of ideals he or she is going to follow. And be realistic, we are in America, so we do have to use some form of American currency, but that's not the only form of currency we have to use. If I'm good at editing resumes and you're good at, typing papers or math.
Fixing a car.
Yeah, fixing a car, then that's simple right there. And what that does is create something in our head to get going that, hey, we can help each other out,
right,
not based off these American ideals, and get back more to our black self.
Right. Even though we're kind of like, neither of you are like in the National Panhellenic Council and stuff like that, I noticed there's a thing that they could have done or they could begin to do better. Right now, a lot of the black fraternities and sororities don't own any property around the universities they attend. They could all come together because a lot of these people are black businessmen, black businesswomen. They could come together and start a real estate firm.
Yep.
And if you have property around every college in America, this would, could be a big deal. But what I've seen, and I'm sorry, but what I've seen from them is they wait till they graduate to go get a good job, when they could have been using their manpower to rebuild and fix up some of these houses and buy units and
they
stuff
don't know,
like that.
They don't know the power that they have yet, I think that's the problem with a lot of black people, is that we are unaware of our power, and we do not know how to weaponize our skill sets and our majors and our power in that sense yet. Once you're able to weaponize something, you begin to realize, like, this connects to this and I can use this as leverage.
Right.
They could be using those skills they have, or even just the network that they have, to drive something that's going to be directly beneficial to black people, black college students that are a part of their fraternities and sororities in that sense. And like I said, the problems that we speak of are just microcosms of everything.
Right.
We're not weaponizing or utilizing our talents in a way that will be that can be used as leverage, I would say. Because you can use that, man. If you got enough people a part of your network, you can use those numbers to easily own a block.
You can get a block, you can get a building easily.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And when I look back at my college experience, the black engineers, we could have easily come together and programmed this, made a software. Because we would have black meetings, black engineering meetings or whatever. And we would either talk about history or the next job or career fair. Mm-hmm. And I think history and the career fair are both still important, but there's a third thing that has to be talked about is how can we benefit each other right now and build something as engineers. Yeah. This is kind of symbolic, but I had a professor who told me, if you're a chemical engineer, you should know how to fix your car because it's a gas plant. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And there's so much things that can be fixed right now.
So much. But
we're waiting to get hired by a corporation to think we're gonna then begin to engage in change.
It places a false sense of value on you. I think that the mind of a lot of black college students does not view themselves as valuable until they are hired or until they are something happens of that sense where okay, now I can do it. And the truth of the matter is you can do it now. Yeah. You should be doing it now, to be honest, because you're smart, you're intelligent, you're brilliant, you have the ideas, you have the background, you have the knowledge, you have everything, you checked off every list to get it done. Right. There's nothing left to do but just to do it. But there's a lot more deeper psychological problems with why we aren't doing the direct work of the black community. The black intellectual is not. There's a lot of other psychological problems that go along with that.
I guess so that'd be like the individualism and
individualism,
stuff that you're talking about?
A false sense of success, a false perception of self, a false perception of our place in the current, in our country, in the world as a whole. We accept crumbs when we shouldn't have to if we knew truly who we were and what we could do as a collective. Right. But nothing will ever come into fruition until we all realize that we need each other to unify, and as a collective, that's how we push forward.
What about in your book, just kind of to talk about this individualism and this this thing you're talking about coming together? You say building by no means is an easy feat. It is much easier to join big corporations, go on about everyday life, and never reach a hand back to the community that needs you more than anything else. That is what so many black college students and graduates are doing today. It is much more difficult for 25 black students and 25 community members to come together and get a plan of action going. A plan that will have a long-lasting positive change within the community. The community members have always had open arms when it comes to these collaborations. Yep. It's a black college student that must take the step toward progression. Yep. To me, this seems like it's rather personal. I know you were a Black Student Union president. Mm-hmm. So can you just kind of tell me what your experiences was like, how you actually, seen this firsthand?
Yeah. So firsthand, I seen it. It's almost like two separate worlds the black college student sees him or herself in, as opposed to the black community. When they're all really in the same boat, everything we face on campus is just a microcosm of what the overall community faces. So in a sense, it was hard for me as the Black Student President to get black college students on board with the idea that this is us in these communities. Like, this is our problem that we should be helping fix. Right. We're not always the leaders, but we do play a crucial piece in fixing these things. So it was very hard to get the black college student to understand or see him or herself as the same as the community, because if they saw themselves the same as the community, they would be fighting a lot harder to fix the community. And I think that's where a lot of black elitism came into play.
I would tell a lot of black college students, if you leave your hometown and you go to a new city, figure out what's going on in that city.
Yep.
Because you're going to be there for 5 years, most likely. Most people don't graduate in 4. So you'll be there for 5 to 6 years, which means if every single black student comes to, this new city and they donate 5 to 6 years worth of their talents continuously, your hometown will be getting fixed while you're fixing someone else's hometown.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the type of mindset we need. But I've seen so much as my time as Black Student Union president. It was hard for the students to connect with the black people here in this city if they came from somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely. Frederick Douglass has a quote: "Power concedes nothing without a demand," and no one's going to save the black community. Like, absolutely no one, and not even the black college student by him or herself is going to save the black community. So it's going to take some unity for us all to fix this thing. And the quicker that we get on board with fixing this thing and weaponizing our skills and leveraging our skills to fix it, the better off we'll be. But until that happens, we'll see more of the same. Yeah,
that's deep, man. Just to lighten things up a little bit, I wanted to ask you just like one question, and let's say you're on a boat for 7 days.
Okay.
And you get to pick from 6 people that you'll be with
6
this whole time. You got Martin Luther King, and I don't mean to pin black people against each other, but there are certain small different philosophical beliefs that each one of them may have in here, and so that's why we're doing this. We're not saying, because Martin and Malcolm, they both are right in some point. You know what I mean?
Got you.
We're not pinning them against each other.
I'm with you.
But Martin Luther King Jr. versus Malcolm X, who would you pick to go on the boat?
Malcolm X.
Malcolm? Okay, what about George Washington Carver, the inventor, versus Kanye West, the inventor?
George Washington Carver.
What about Mark Lamont Hill, the journalist, or Von Jones, the reporter journalist?
Mark Lamont Hill.
W.E. Du Bois versus Booker T. Washington.
Booker T.
Barack Obama versus Stokely Carmichael.
Stokely all day long.
All these people have received formal education to some degree, yet you differentiated between them. Could you explain maybe, what your reason was for picking some of these people?
I think I just followed their ideals and their mindset a little bit more than the others. Like you said, they all have a place in black progression. But overall, I believe that the true key to unlocking or solving black people's problem is defined in self. It's not going to be granted to them from any office of America or any individual achievement. So overall, I think some ideals align with what I believe will be the solution more than others.
Cool. I appreciate that. So, you and I both come from hip-hop.
Mm-hmm.
Hip-hop. And hip-hop is message music.
Yep.
You got Gil Scott-Heron, who's maybe like one of the forefathers of hip-hop, even though he was more of a neo-soul artist. He said the revolution will not be
televised.
And you got also people like the late and great Nip Hussle, Neighborhood Nip, who said in one of his songs in his last album before he passed, he said he knows he's a genius, but he can't claim it because they gave him no platform to explain it. Yep. He's frustrated, so he gets faded. But deep down inside, they can't phase him.
Yep.
So what does that first part mean to you, bro? Like, you just wrote this book, you just came out with something, you know what I mean? You got your platform. Yep. What was it like to not have it? And,
Yeah, facts, man. I think that first part of that lyric mean everything to me. It's a lot of sleeping giants out here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sleeping giants who don't know that they brilliant and intelligent and got some bright ideas and world changers. They just don't have no platform to explain it yet. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I wrote this book to be a mindset shifter to them to create your own platform. You know what I'm saying? Broadcast your intelligence in a way that's going to help our people. And And the second part of it, they left no platform to explain it, so he frustrated, so he get faded. And that is the problem or the situation that we face a lot, you know what I'm saying, in our communities. As a result of no platforms being displayed for us to portray our intelligence and our brightness and our ideas and how great we are, we get faded, you know what I'm saying? We resort to other things to try to fill that, you have to try to fill that void. So man, Nipsey hit the, like that was prophetic right there.
Yeah, no, it was because, you know, I had that same feeling, you know, I who knows how long I was smart. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until I came into the Black Student Union.
Same.
And I became, I didn't even have to become the president. Right away, the Black Student Union gave me a platform to begin to go out into the community, to begin to read documents of what was coming out by the city or coming out by the officials at the university. Yeah. And I was able to strategically organize plans in order to, you know, cause change. Yeah. And this was my first cause and effect moment from my personal point of view, where I was like, dang, you know what I'm saying? Like,
bro, imagine if everybody realized how smart they are. Because I think, like you up there, bro. You genius level for real. So just imagine if you had 100 other Black college students who realized how smart they were, and they all came together to get some stuff done.
Yeah, it'd be big, bro. Because I mean, me and this brother were able to do a lot, and I don't mean to say it was just us two, because there were a lot of other people. Yeah. But to say something lightly, between him and I, we were able to do so much. Yeah. If there were 8 more, you know what I mean? And not even talking about 100. If there are 8 more, you know, I don't know what we could have done, but it would have been real big.
Yeah, you know? Man, that's what I'm saying. That mindset shift is so important. Just to realize, I think in 2020, right, if something is not empowering you, then it's draining you.
Okay.
That's why we talk about empowerment so much, to be your own solution, to be your own problem solver. Right. And once you get in that driver's seat, you realize, like, oh, this feels good. I can do this. I can fix this problem. I can solve that. I can solve that. So the mindset shift has to take place first, and after that, man, the sky's the limit for Black people.
For sure, man. I mean, and that's what the whole book, when I'm reading the book, you're not talking about how to go to financial aid. You're not talking about
not at all.
How to, you know what I'm saying? The message to the Black college student isn't remember to bring your pencil sharpener. Yeah, no. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's some heavy stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm trying to wake that sleeping giant up, man, because I know, like, anybody who studies history, Black history in particular, knows what's up when it comes to this type of stuff. They know it's sleeping giants. You know what I'm saying? People have came throughout our history, throughout over the years, and they remind you, like, hey, y'all got it. Just utilize it the right way.
I would say in this country, Black people are the people that have civilized America. Yeah. If it wasn't for Black people saying we are people too, Black people would still not look like humans, and all of non-Black Americans would have a contradiction where they say these are not humans or they should not be treated equally. It was a Black person that pushed that forward. Yep. It was a Black person who gave or created like the 15th, 16th Amendment and pushed for it. You know what I'm saying? It was Black people who went against and said police brutality is wrong. You know, so everywhere we go, and other people are able to build their progress off of our contributions.
Yeah, we're the foundation to it.
But we're the foundation.
And it's ironic that we're usually the foundation, but we're usually the ones that are left out once the real progress, quote unquote, is made. Yeah. We're often left out of it.
I think it's because some of the things that we just intrinsically know, right? Some of the things that we just intrinsically know, we don't understand how profound they are to other races or cultures. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We look at it, it's just like you got the brother who, you know, he can just cross over and slam without any training. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's just, he just has that. Yeah. And so we like, nah, that's bro. You know what I mean?
Bro, you know, it's crazy. I think it was Bill Russell or somebody who used to be a player and they turned to a coach. And he was in practice like, get up there and just grab the rebound. And the players was like, know what I'm saying? He had to learn, he had to teach him, okay, you got to box out,
Right.
bend with your knees, go up. It's a lot more steps you have to take in order to teach when some people just got it, you know what I mean?
And I think for a lot of us black people, so many things are intuitive that we don't realize when we put it on the market that it was as valuable as it was.
Yeah.
So we then don't like follow up.
Yep. But
You
we
know
don't
what I'm
understand how
saying?
powerful we are. Like, it just always resorts back to that. We don't understand how powerful we are in a sense to shift everything if we just really, really wanted to.
Yeah.
Or really we had the mindset to shift it. And man, that's like I said, just going back to the book, bro, that's what this piece is about. It's about waking up the sleeping giants, getting black people to utilize their skills, their majors and talents for the progression of the black community and the black community first and foremost.
Yeah.
Because I think we can do it, man. Everybody has a part in this. The nutrition major is just as valuable as the criminal justice major, who's just as valuable as the engineering major, you know what I'm saying, as the business major.
Yeah.
We all have a piece of the pie that can be used to uplift the black community as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just make our mind up and do that.
Right. You know, as your book, you talk about, we already discussed it, but you talk about this college to corporate pipeline. And that's obviously some sort of manufacturing. That's some type of effect of the black student coming into class every day and listening to their professors solely and not going to find other means of education.
Yep.
So what would be some of those things that the black college student could expose themselves to if they're not getting the curriculum from the actual university?
So the most important education is the one that you give yourself. And all this stuff is systemic. The stuff we learn, the stuff we taught, it's all poured into us strategically to get a certain product or result from it. You gotta get out of that. You gotta actually read some real life people who wanted black progression to be a theme. You gotta dig deeper into the history that's omitted, that's disregarded and hidden.
Yeah.
And once you do that, it like wakes you up.
It does.
Read up on some Marcus Garvey, read up on some WB, read up on some Booker T, read up on some Dr. Carter G, some Malcolm, some Stokely Carmichael, you know what I'm saying, some Huey P, some George Jackson, man, like
George Jackson.
Yeah.
You be careful you read George Jackson.
read up on some things of people who had different ideas about our reality than the ones you read in your history books. Mm-hmm. Go on the complete opposite, and you'll see the difference. The history book versus the People's History of America or something like that. Yeah. You'll see a difference in that. So the main thing I think to fixing this is first our mindset shift, but that happens through educating ourselves about our place in this world, how we got to this point in this world, and you begin to piece it together how we can move forward in this world.
I think a lot of black people have been scared from their own movements. You know.
Oh yeah, man. That's true. It's so systemic that when you mention how the college to corporate pipeline is manufactured in a way, it's supposed to be this way. It resorts back to a COINTELPRO document I read where it's going to deter all black boys from wanting to be black leaders. They're going to aspire to be actors and sports athletes and things of that sort, but they're going to make it a priority from the advertisements, from the stuff they read, all that the black leader will be shunned and disregarded and vilified, demonized, all that stuff, and the athlete will be praised.
Right.
So it does something to our head that it's all systemic.
Yeah.
In a way, it's planned to be this way that it is.
Yeah.
It's no mistake.
Because even though you chose Malcolm, right, in your first thing, I know if any black person seems to be kind of like tough-headed and stuff like that, they're quick to say, "Oh, you're little Malcolm."
Yep.
Oh, and what that has like a trope that has like this underlying thing to it means it may mean like you're kind of destructive or you're kind of heedless.
Yep.
And that wasn't Malcolm's actual image.
It wasn't.
You know what I mean? And so I see this all the time is, black people were scared of the Black Panthers. Black people, everywhere. Malcolm was able to be killed because he was an enemy. Mm-hmm. The black church was not all support of Martin. Yep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's why it's important to study past movements in our history. Realize the media's role in these movements, how they vilified, and realize these same media outlets are still around.
They're still around.
realize the images that were painted, things like that, and you begin to connect the dots. Like, wow, that they did vilify that man in 1960. They vilifying this man today for the same thing.
Same thing.
Ice Cube wants to do something that's going to be progressive for the black community. They call him a sellout.
Right.
Wow. You know what I'm saying? Once they meet with certain leaders, they call him a sellout as well.
Right.
You begin to connect the dots.
And you know, when you talk about Ice Cube, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always kind of been like a trailblazer for like scruffy, not really all manicured, black elite type of position. You know what I'm saying? Even though sometimes he can, you know, balance that hat. Yeah. The black elite seem to like kind of have like this love affair with the Democratic Party and this liberal stuff. Yeah. And there might be some good things in that, but is what the black elite and the Democratic Party are talking about in terms of progression for black people, do you think that is the necessary path to take? Or do you think that, once again, that Ice Cube point of view, where you're like, look, I don't care which party it is.
Black people have to have their own agenda, like, period. Black people have to, no matter who it comes from, who they work with, we have to have our own agenda. Because no one's going to save us but us. No Democratic Party, no Republican Party. No one's going to save us but us. So we should be willing to be careful with dancing with the devil. We should be willing to negotiate with anybody in terms of getting our needs and wants met.
Yeah.
Because that just has to be what it will be.
Yeah. You know, I think like some of talking about Eurocentric ideas though, right?
Yeah.
Where everything goes down to debate and negotiation. Yeah. And when I read like the Bible or I read the Quran, I see that these prophets, right, they didn't make compromises with evil. Yeah. And I at the same time see that we get too much caught up into let's have a seat at the table and talk this thing out.
Yeah, I don't want to see.
And that's a stalemate. Yeah. You know, they set the chessboard up. As soon as we at that table, they know we're locked.
Yep.
You know, so is this seat at the table thing, you know, is this what black people should be going for?
I don't think so. Seat at the table doesn't mean anything. You got to sit at the table and like you have no say so on what's going on at the table.
Yeah.
You know, so I always go for the highest demands. As black student president, like I went for like the highest thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And we ain't budging on that because for what?
Right.
What is the point of budging on any idea, anything that you truly know that you deserve? Why budge?
Yeah, there's no point, man.
And history is showing, like, we have all the answers that we've needed throughout history to know what we really deserve and need at this point. There's nothing else to talk about.
Nah, I don't think there's anything else to talk about. Brother, I know in your book you talk about W. Du Bois and double consciousness and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You know, you've now laid out a book. You've been an organizer. You know, W. Du Bois had a long life of 96 years.
Yeah.
You know, you're establishing yourself now as a black intellectual. Do you see yourself kind of going down that same pathway as a guy like W. Du Bois?
Yeah, I think I'm more than sure that the mind constantly evolves. So I'm very confident in this piece of work, right, as I will say. But who knows? Maybe my ideas and my perceptions of results and things like that, or perception of solutions, will change later on down the line. So yeah, I almost expect it. I do expect it to be. I'm 22 years old right now. I still love black people. I still want our progression. But maybe my view of that and how we can get there will change as I go along.
Right. And W. Du Bois himself, his views changed.
Yep.
You know, obviously. But is that the reason why you left your last chapter, How Can We Fix It, a little more short and brief? Because you know, what was your reasoning behind leaving that? Because I was reading the book and I felt like I was getting it, but then once I got to the How Can We Fix It, you know.
Yeah, so I think throughout the book I lay down solutions as I produce a problem, or not produce a problem, as I portray a problem, I guess, or bring a problem to the forefront, I talk about how you can fix it in the next paragraph.
Right.
So it's not one of those books where it's just problems, and solution at the end.
Right.
I give it to you as I address it, if that makes sense.
You kind of want black people to begin to
be their own. I want them to think. I want them to think about the problem, and I'll give them a solution, but I want them to be able to use their own minds and realize that, okay, I have information, how can I apply it to my exact situation?
Yeah.
Because although black people in America, all over the world, we have similar situations, some things make our situations special or just our own situation. So I don't want to be my solution to my problem in Detroit, Michigan, or in Kalamazoo at Western Michigan may not be the exact solution that they need wherever they are in their communities.
Right.
But take us into consideration, as it is the truth, and use your own mind to fix your problem. That chapter, how we can fix it, is just pure empowerment and motivation for them to actually say, okay, let's get busy, let's get to work.
Right.
That's why it's so short, because I mean, we know what's up now. You know, to talk about the book. They already stated what's going on with it and how you can fix it. So I want you to get in the driver's seat at this point.
So the biggest hurdle really is getting over that Eurocentric point of view and hopping on to this African point of view.
Yes, sir. It's a mindset shift that has to take place. And that's what I'm stressing the most throughout this book.
Oh, brother, the book is phenomenal. I'm happy that I had gotten it early, stay up reading it. So I'm really proud of you, proud of what you've done, also, not just I'm proud of what you've done, but I'm proud of what you've done through the Black Student Union, because you weren't just an intellectual, you aren't just a keyboard warrior. You were actually a person that was on the ground doing real stuff.
Yeah.
So anything that you've written thus far, I believe that you actually have a right to write this book.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? If it was coming from somebody else, I'd be like, hold on, let me check this kid's resume.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you actually put in the work, so you get the right to put out this book, if you ask me, man. And that's all I really got for you, brother. It's a pleasure as always, man. Have a good day, y'all.
I appreciate you, man.